Hey, you made it. Come on in and join me. I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself. I'm super glad you're here. If you haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button so you can follow the adventure as it unfolds. And if you love this podcast, share it with your friends. It's Friday, which means it's time for the Fridity or the Friday Ditty. I'm going to share with you a poem about this week's topic, forgiveness in conflict, along with explaining what happened inside of me. I'm not giving advice. If you want advice, there are plenty of people who would love more than anything to tell you what to do. And I truly believe you have the capacity to understand yourself, and that's through connecting with and understanding other people. So let's get to it. Once upon a time, in a conflict far and wide, I found forgiveness and let hurt subside. I'm Angela, your host, here to share with you how I found forgiveness, and you can too. First, I closed my eyes and meditated deep, a peaceful moment where my heart could leap. Through stillness and calm, my anger did fade. Meditation, my dear friends, was the aid. Then I whispered softly, a little mantra indeed. They know not what they do, I chanted without speed. For in understanding psychology, I did learn that most people's actions they truly don't discern. Unless you're with a psychopath, oh so rare, most folks act without knowing, please be aware. The more I grasped the workings of the brain, the easier it became to forgive and not strain. So, dear friends, remember when in conflict's way, meditate and understand it's okay to sway. Forgiveness can heal and bring peace to the land, just like it did for me, a wave brushing the sand. If you're human, then you will at some point experience conflict. That's just the way it is. You see, in order to figure out where I end and you begin, we also need to bump into each other. So, a few years ago, I came up with an analogy that's been super helpful to me. I used to think I needed to avoid conflict at all costs. The reality was, I needed to learn how to navigate conflict in a healthy way. It's called boundaries and bumper cars. Imagine you're in a bumper car out on the floor and the people in your life are there too. Ready, set, go. The goal is to bump into people, figuratively saying, this is me and that is you. The kickback we get when bumping into other spaces is important and necessary for us to know where we end and they begin. Sometimes, though, the other person backs up and doesn't tell us we crossed a line, or we do this. Other times they dodge or leave instead of bumping back, or we do this. In another scenario, they might actually turn and come with us, or we do this. In all of these scenarios, there's no way for us or them to know a line was crossed. So, in life, personal boundaries are like bumper cars. The kickback is necessary. This can lead to new and better ways for all of us, and healthy communication is required, or you might just end up locked in battle. I've gotten locked in battle a few times or more in my life. Finding forgiveness at that point can be extremely difficult. I think in some ways our bodies become addicted to the emotion. Over a year ago, I was hurt pretty bad on an emotional level by someone hiding things from me that took away my ability to make different choices. I then found myself in a position where I was wondering if I was going to be homeless or not, and I had had other options available. Had they told me sooner, and they could have. They chose not to. This is someone I love and care for. I was so confused as to how they could hurt me so much. Injury didn't end there. They also went around telling others that I was a horrible person. I decided that I was not going to engage, and that choice was the best possible one for me. I did not need to go prove myself to these people, as I trusted that they knew who I was, and if they didn't, that would have to be okay too. The thing is, by not engaging and politicking from my perspective, the people receiving information from the person that hurt me had no access to my experience. They also didn't call me to check their hypothesis. So at the end of the day, their brain did what all brains do. It took the easy path, and I lost relationships. I still believe the best choice for me was to not engage. People will be in our lives if they are supposed to be. So I had this need to understand what was happening, though, because it was so very painful. So, to understand what happened and find a way to forgive, I surrounded myself with loving people and I read a lot. I read books like High Conflict by Amanda Ripley, Bad Language by Herman Kaplan and Josh Deaver, Good Arguments by Bo So, and Who Minds Change by David McRaney. All of these books gave me a better understanding of what happens inside of us, and because of that understanding, I know that they did what they did because of what they believed. Sometimes we do things to preserve ourselves. Okay, most times we do things to preserve ourselves and our belief in who we are. And when we do something that isn't in line with that story, then we have a need to go find a way to make certain we are still that person. Usually that's by getting other people to confirm it for us. What took me a long time to acknowledge was that I could have easily been the one in this situation causing pain. I've certainly caused others pain as I tried to preserve myself at points throughout my life. This was a really hard pill to swallow, to acknowledge that I could ever hurt another when all I wanted to do was good in the world. By acknowledging the truth that I've hurt others, we all have, we are human, it helps me to forgive. Most importantly, if I hold on to the anger and the pride, then not only would I be hurting myself, but more importantly, I will never see where they might be trying to repair our relationship. My brain will only ever look to validate the story I want to believe, and this one is tied to very strong feelings, which means it's a bit tougher to overcome. That's okay. I'm always up for growth, and that usually comes with a challenge and surprises along the way. So, I get to do what I wish they would have done. Challenge accepted. I get to try to prove my hypothesis wrong. Look for surprises. Because it is still a bit fresh and scary, I get to step through fear and use my courage. I will put on my scientific hat, get curious, and remember that everything in them is in me too. Forgiveness is not about who I want them to be. It's about who I want to be. Who are you going to be? Remember, dear friends, forgiveness is key in our hearts and minds. Let forever be. Forgiveness can heal and bring peace to the land, just like it did for me, away brushing the sand. Like, share, and comment below to let me know what topics you'd like me to explore next. Remember to subscribe to Me Making Sense of Myself for weekly doses of information and self-discovery. If you have a question, send it over. I might just answer it. Let's do this together. I'm Angela, and this was me making sense of myself.